The onset of the Black Death marks a pivotal moment in human history, defined by the rapid spread of a deadly plague that decimated populations across Europe between 1347 and 1351. The Black Death, also known as the Bubonic Plague, was primarily caused by the bacterium Yersinia pestis, which was transmitted through fleas that fed on rats and subsequently spread to humans. This catastrophic epidemic led to the death of an estimated 25 to 30 million people, nearly one-third of Europe's population at the time, highlighting its immense historical significance. Understanding the onset of the Black Death is crucial because it sets the stage for examining the profound socio-economic and cultural transformations that followed. It disrupted societies, challenged existing medical knowledge, and altered the course of European history. For example, in the Italian city of Genoa, one of the first entry points of the plague into Europe, the pestilence forced the city into quarantine and changed trade dynamics as other regions feared contamination. Similarly, in England, the sharp decline in population led to a scarcity of labor, resulting in increased wages for workers and contributing to the eventual end of the feudal system. Scholars and historians often support the notion that the onset of the Black Death reshaped societies in ways that contributed to the modernization of Europe. The decline in population brought about changes in economic structures, social mobility, and even advancements in medical understanding. However, alternative views suggest that the societal shifts were more gradual and not solely a result of the plague. The onset of the Black Death also presents challenges and controversies, particularly concerning its origins and spread. Some theories propose it began in Central Asia or was exacerbated by the conditions of warfare and trade routes. Moreover, there were initial failures in recognizing the scale of the pandemic, and misconceptions regarding its causes led to widespread scapegoating, particularly of minority communities such as Jews, intensifying social tensions. This initial phase of the Black Death is intrinsically linked to subsequent elements of the plague's impact. It influenced public health responses and societal resilience, demonstrating the potential for recovery and adaptation in the face of catastrophe. The onset is a critical aspect, not only in understanding the historical consequences of the Black Death, but also in acknowledging the long-lasting influences it had on shaping Europe's modern landscape. As such, examining this starting point provides valuable insights into how societies can adapt and evolve in response to monumental crises. The origins and spread of the Black Death refers to the emergence and rapid dissemination of one of history's most devastating pandemics, occurring between 1347 and 1351. The Black Death, also known as the Bubonic Plague, was caused by the bacterium Yersinia pestis, primarily transmitted through fleas that infested rats. It originated in the arid plains of Central Asia, likely near the Caspian Sea, and traveled along the Silk Road, reaching Europe via merchant ships. The movement of goods and people facilitated the spread, making it a global catastrophe. Understanding the origins and spread of the Black Death is crucial to comprehending its catastrophic impact. The plague decimated populations across continents, killing an estimated 25 to 30 million people in Europe alone, about one-third of its population at the time. This decline had profound social, economic, and cultural repercussions, leading to labor shortages, shifts in social structures, and changes in economic practices. For instance, the decrease in the workforce empowered surviving peasants to demand higher wages, contributing to the end of feudalism in Europe. One specific example illustrating the spread is the impact on the city of Genoa in Italy. As a major trade hub, Genoa was an entry point for the plague into Europe, demonstrating how trade routes facilitated its transmission. Another example is the rapid spread along the Silk Road, highlighting how land and sea connectivity can amplify the reach of infectious diseases. Various opinions suggest that the spread of the Black Death was exacerbated by the movement of armies and fleeing populations who unknowingly carried the disease into new regions. This view is supported by historical accounts detailing the progression of the plague following major trade and migration routes. However, there are challenges in pinpointing the exact origin due to limited contemporary records and the complex nature of transmission pathways. Some alternative viewpoints question the reliance on traditional narratives, suggesting climate change or other factors may have also played significant roles in exacerbating the pandemic's spread. This point about origins and spread is intrinsically connected to understanding the subsequent societal changes. The rapid population decline influenced demographics, cultures, and economies, setting the stage for the Renaissance and reshaping European society. Furthermore, it emphasizes the importance of historical pandemics in influencing public health responses and policies. Analyzing the Black Death provides lessons in how interconnected societies can become vulnerable to infectious diseases, information that remains relevant in our globalized world today. The symptoms and diagnosis of the Black Death, which ravaged Europe from 1347 to 1351, are crucial to understanding the pandemic's impact and the attempts at managing the crisis. The Black Death, primarily caused by the bacterium Yersinia pestis, manifested in three primary forms: bubonic, septicemic, and pneumonic. The most common, bubonic plague, was characterized by the sudden onset of fever, chills, weakness, and the painful swelling of lymph nodes, known as buboes. The disease's rapid progression and high mortality rate, estimated to have killed between 30 and 60% of Europe's population, made its symptoms and diagnosis pivotal in the history of pandemics. These symptoms were significant because they provided the first clues for medieval societies to try and comprehend an otherwise inexplicable catastrophe. Understanding the symptoms allowed local physicians and the general populace to identify the presence of the plague, albeit with no effective medical response due to the lack of knowledge about germs and transmission vectors. In hindsight, the recognition of these symptoms played a foundational role in historic and future understandings of epidemic patterns and responses. Historical accounts offer specific examples illustrating how symptoms were perceived and managed. In cities like Florence and Venice, records show that the sight of swelling buboes led to widespread fear and attempts at quarantine, even if these measures were primitive by today's standards. Another example is from the city of Paris, where health officials started investigating the influence of environmental factors, believing bad air or miasma to be the cause, thus influencing public health measures. Views on how societies responded to the Black Death's symptoms vary. Some historical accounts suggest that the recognition of symptoms led to panic and social decay, yet others argue that it fostered a sense of communal responsibility to seek solutions, laying the groundwork for modern epidemiology. However, several challenges and controversies are associated with this topic. One challenge was the misconception and plethora of superstitions linked to the disease's symptoms, often resulting in misguided efforts like persecution or ineffective treatments. Alternative viewpoints consider that the focus on visible symptoms may have neglected underlying causes, delaying effective medical understanding till much later. In connection to other aspects of the Black Death, symptoms and diagnosis had profound social, economic, and religious implications. The widespread acknowledgement of the plague's devastating effects reshaped societal structures, affecting labor economies due to population loss and altering religious life as people questioned faith amid such suffering. Ultimately, understanding the symptoms and diagnostic efforts during the Black Death provides vital insights into the historical narrative of pandemics, bolstering our current perspectives on public health and emergency preparedness. The societal and economic impact of the Black Death, which ravaged Europe between 1347 and 1351, is a critical aspect of understanding this devastating pandemic. The Black Death, also known as the Bubonic Plague, decimated nearly a third of the European population. This immense loss of life had profound and far-reaching effects on society and the economy during and after the epidemic. The significance of this impact lies in how it reshaped medieval life. For many, the catastrophic population decline led to a severe labor shortage. As a result, surviving workers found themselves in higher demand, which, for the first time in medieval society, allowed them to demand better wages and working conditions. This shift contributed to the gradual decline of the feudal system, as serfs and peasants began to gain more freedom and bargaining power. Economically, this increased mobility and demand for workers sparked a transformation towards a more market-oriented economy, setting the stage for future economic structures. Two specific examples illustrate this point clearly. Firstly, in England, the enactment of the Statute of Labourers in 1351 was a direct response to the labour crisis, as it attempted to cap wages and bind workers to their land, highlighting the shift in power between labourers and landowners. Secondly, in the Italian city-states, the plague created such a vacuum that it eventually fueled the Renaissance. With significant portions of wealth redirected, patrons sponsored burgeoning art and cultural movements, fostering a new era of innovation and creativity. Opinions on the plague's impact vary. Some historians view it as a catalyst for economic and social progress, arguing that it upended outdated systems and paved the way for modernization. However, others contend that the immediate suffering and disruption overshadow these long-term benefits. Controversies exist around how uniformly beneficial these changes truly were. While regions like parts of Italy advanced rapidly, other areas, particularly rural ones, remained stagnant or even regressed. Alternative viewpoints also suggest that the heavy reliance on human labor left societies vulnerable to such plagues, indicating a need for diversified economic structures. The societal and economic impact of the Black Death is intricately connected to other aspects of the pandemic. The shifts in labor and economic practices influenced the social hierarchy, indirectly leading to changes in governance and societal norms and even religious practices. Understanding these dynamics offers valuable insights into how societies can adapt and evolve in the face of catastrophic events.